Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good evening, Miss Justice. There you are, girl. Number one. Number one. God bless. Much love, PG. Hey, girl. Much love to you. You know, Pam, number two. All right. All right. Hey, hey, PG chat mods. Number two, Pam. God bless. And Karen, you number you number three, girlfriend. God bless. Absolutely. And number four is Candy. All right. How you doing tonight? Hello, PG chat mods. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. All right. Miss Justice. Girl, I love you. You know it. Um, Let me get down through here. Hey, Australia, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you in here tonight. Oh, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. God bless. And Anna, there you are. Lynn, Florida girl. Carla. And Truly, how you doing? Let me see. Spread love. Patty, I almost missed you, girl. I got you. I got you. And there's Linda. How you doing, sweetie? God bless. All right, I'm at the end. I'm at the end. So anyway, um, I came in to cover Lily and Jack's case tonight. Um, Summer's case. Um, she's not on the FBI list. Summer is not there, and because her case is an ongoing case, um, they really suggest, you know, I was told they're not sure, they're not 100% sure. You could be taken off the list for different reasons. But I also was told that it's an ongoing investigation, and they're really not going to talk about it. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. They really did not want to give out information. And I basically was pretty much asked not to put the conversation out. Um, you know, her case is ongoing, and I feel like, put it this way. I think I think they got something. I think they've got something. That you guys will probably be hearing about in the. I think something's being hushed. Um, you know, because certain things have to go through channels, you know, and they really just don't want, you know, they don't want, any issues and no issues. That's as much as I could. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. That's the best way I can put it, um, for you guys. Okay, I'm gonna say my opinion. My opinion on it, and that isn't exactly, quoting no one or anything like that. This is my opinion. My opinion is that they got something that, is going to be taking them time to obviously get done. And they just don't want, you know, they just don't want any issues while they're, any further issues while they're getting it done. They're not going to let it out of the bag, put it that way. And so, there's really only a few reasons why, you're taken off of there. And see, the thing with Summer was that she wasn't really ever like abduction. There was no signs of an abduction, none, absolutely none. Ronnie Lawson told you guys that came out of the sheriff's mouth himself way back when. I can say that because that came out of Ronnie's mouth. He told you guys, no signs of abduction. And then, Pruitt came back and he said, they covered 3,000 miles around 110. They actually covered not 300, 3,000 miles around that area. So, and then they came back and they did what they called an inside deep dive search on Summerwell's case. And they came up with nothing. And they felt that, if she would have wandered off, if she would have been anywhere out there with, that high of professionals and the drones and the helicopters and all the things and them being on it very early on, they would have found her or found signs of her being there. They found nothing. So pretty much wandering off was taken off the table as well. Now, they do have, a lot more than you guys know, a lot more than I know. So with that being said, hey Pam, I think I saw you, girl. Come back. Where you at? I think I saw you. Bring yourself back up here. I just put the link out for you. I just put the link out for you, Pam. Come back. Get yourself back here. So anyway, that was really taken off the table as well, by not Ronnie, but by Pruitt himself. And he told you guys, that he knows that a lot of people's wanting to keep faith. That I see you, Pam. If you are close to camera, I see you, girlfriend. Okay. How you doing, Pam?
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing good. But he said that, if she was out there, he would have found that he believed they would have found her or signs of her. He also said that he knows that a lot of people at that particular time was wanting to, hold on to the fact that Summer might still be with us and stuff. But, he also, let you guys know, in a roundabout way that, prepare yourself because they're not looking, they wasn't looking for a live child. They was looking for, an on live child. He said, be prepared, be prepared because, law enforcement, Ronnie Lawson really did not think Summer, in my opinion, was alive on the milk jugs. He said, "Why'd you wait 4.5 hours to call law enforcement?" Well, that would have put her back on the milk jug. So, you know, and so they were, I think from the get of seeing that video, they were looking for, an basically like unmarked, a hidden child under a bunch of brush, a toad out there. They were looking in probably holes in trees where you might be able to fit a child up in there. I think they was looking more for a burial or hiding, cover up spot where the child could have been placed really quick, um, in order to retrieve at a later date or something, or maybe left for eternity, you know, um, if not found. So, you know,
Remember when Candace said, if I go out in the woods
I'd be
and I
messing up.
find Summer, I would have to scoop her up and I would mess up a crime scene?
Absolutely. Well, the thing is also law enforcement told us that they felt the summer was right there, close in that area. And with that being said, that cemetery is very close, right there in the area. Um, if you ask me, she was taken off. She was taken off of that website. Now she is on a couple other websites still. But um, there was a. Hold on a minute, and I'll tell you guys. Um, I found something close to it, and I posted it on Facebook for everybody. Um, there was a couple of days ago. Actually, heaven actually got um, three more angels. Um, you know, in the last couple of days, um, three little girls, beautiful little girls, 1, 9, 1, 8, 1, 5. Her little name was Olivia. They were found Monday close to their father's truck near a campground. They were all unalived. Law enforcement's looking for their 32-year-old dad. That his name is Travis, and they're looking for him. He was homeless. He picked up the girls, didn't return them. There was an Amber Alert out for the little girls, but he had already unlived all three of them. He's on the run. They're looking for him. Um, as far as I know, he has not yet been found.
No.
Um, so, uh, this all went down Monday. It's very heartbreaking story. But there was, you know, the ball kind of got dropped like summer. The ball kind of got dropped on these little girls because, the Amber Alert didn't go out quick enough. It didn't go out soon enough. Um, you know, things just didn't go fast enough. And I mean, it was a possibility that, I'm not saying the kids' lives could have been saved. I'm just saying that there was people who said they had saw them, had saw this guy, kids and stuff in different areas before this. And if there had been an Amber Alert, they would have called in, but they had not heard anything about missing kids, so they didn't, wasn't on guard for it. And that's, that's a problem. That's a problem. Um, That's the kind of things that happen. Those are the kind of things that happen, in a missing child's cases. Now, to my understandings, to my understandings, um, there was, the children were taken off the Amber Alert. Sometimes children are taken off the Amber Alert, um, before people are notified, before people are notified, about the unliving, about them being found unalived. Um, and sometimes they're taken off the websites, you know, before, like Summer's being removed off of the Fed, the FBI site. Sometimes they will take her off the site like that, because before they let the public know, you know, that she's been found, that they know where she's at, um, and so forth and so on. You know, um, something's up. Something, like I said, they don't want to. It's an ongoing investigation. They're not at liberty to give out, um, information to the public, and they can only tell you, so much, and that's it. Um, so, you know, you have to do your homework, which we did our homework. And, the only reasons that they usually take a child off of that particular website is if they know, is if they found it. Or have really credible information as to where the child is, and they're in the process of pursuing that particular information, this solid information to bring the child forth. That's usually the only reasons they do it. So, did they get really solid information that they can go on at that, where Summer's at, to the point that they can, you know, proceed and bring her forth? Uh, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it. It sounds like that might be what it is. Uh, so I don't know.
Well, I know one thing. Uh, PG.
I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that, Australia. Yeah. I keep hearing on 2022 there was an article saying she had been found, and TBI had identified it to be Summer, and then it was taken back. Does anyone remember that? I remember something. I remember something vaguely about. Now I don't remember them saying she was found. I remember in 2022, somebody had came out and said that she was, that they had some kind of video footage of, some type of video footage that, that supposedly, um, knew where Summer supposedly was buried unalive. And I remember that. and it turned up to be nothing. Matter of fact, they went out to check it, and law enforcement did. They went out to check it. It was somewhere around the horse stables, and they went out, looking and checking into it, and it came out to be a hoax, like a hoax. Another one of those, uh, pissed the cops off, right? Pissed law enforcement off, hoax, and that there was a lot of that going on at the beginning of Summer's case. There was a whole lot of that going on. Hey, girl, it's good to see you too. Good to see you. Much love. Um, but there was a whole lot of that, at the beginning, and I could see why law enforcement is so aggressive. I mean, if you have people running you down dark alleys constantly, down dark alleys that led to nothing and led to nothing and led to nothing, a bunch of hoax, a bunch of games, a bunch of BS. And you're out there in the middle of the night, checking ponds and creeks and, waterways and all kinds of weird stuff. You would be pretty upset too. You'd be, and bones, right? Deer bones and all kinds of weird things. Um, you would be, you know, fit to be tied as well. And law enforcement's no different than us. They're human too. And when you run them around and run them around and run them around, they get very tired. They get very tired. They get very frustrated. They get, you know, they get fed up. And people are not helping this child's case. They're hurting it. When you're, calling in on running people down dark alleys because Candace said this or Donald said, see, that's you don't understand that that's the evil intentions of criminals like Don and Candace Wells. These are criminal minded people, and they want to say stuff to get people calling in and running law enforcement around and making law enforcement tired, because then that makes law enforcement really upset with the case, and it makes them want to just put that case at the bottom of the pile, and we'll deal with it when it comes back up on top, because it's costing too much money. It's costing the taxpayers and law enforcement. It's depleting the budget. It's depleting the budget that they have, for an overall community. Rogersville, Tennessee's got more people than just Summer Moon, Utah Wells in it that disappeared. And this money has to stretch, for them to take care of all people, not some, everybody and not somebody. And when people are calling in and calling in and calling in and running them up and down these dark alleys, well, what you do is you hurt the case. And that's what Don, um, in my opinion, Don and Candace are guilty. That's my opinion. I think they're guilty. Guilty as all get out, if you ask me. But the thing is, they want to discourage law enforcement away from Summer's case, and they use all of you to do it. They use everybody out here to do it. It's a strategy. It's a strategy. And that's what criminal minded people do. What better way to discourage law enforcement than using a big community of true crime people to, start blowing up the phones all the time because you said this or you said that, and they want to tell it, and then law enforcement's got to follow it, and it's depleting the budget and everything else. And I'm not surprised Summer's case. I'm not surprised that we're 4 years down the road. Almost, in about a week we'll be 4 years. And I'm not really surprised that her case isn't solved yet. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Um, you know, because law enforcement I think they got, I think they did get pretty frustrated. I think they did get pretty, fed up, and I think they, kind of backed off from, backed off from everything because it was just too overwhelming. Pam, you sound like you need to take some cold medication, honey.
I got one thing to say to these haters out there, and I'm not trying to interrupt you, but PG does not go for the money. She is in this for summer and the missing
Where's that?
children.
Where's that coming from?
Because everybody seems to think that, oh, PG's in it for the money.
Oh, I mean, where is all this coming from? Though, where is this stemming from right now?
From different chats.
And who's
Everybody will go over. Like they had one on another chat saying, where's PG? PG's not PG's not missing. These kids are missing. Worry about where the kids are.
right?
PG's not missing. And another thing, PG, you're not act right bitches.
What?
You're supposed to be act right bitches.
What's that?
It's somebody that hangs out over at Mama Bear's.
What's an act right bitches?
It's a YouTube name that a lady goes by. And over at Crystal Crime Conversation,
Right?
we know she's a nut job. But
Well,
she said, oh, PG's act right bitches. No, she's not.
Pam, once upon a time, I probably would have, joined in on this little, you know, drama escapade of all these
I'm
people.
not trying to make it drama. I'm just trying to make it clear.
I'm not saying you, hun. I'm not saying you.
I'm
saying
sticking up for you because I'm tired of seeing it.
right. But what I'm saying is, I probably would have cared. I probably would have cared even a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I might have cared what these people saying and everything, but I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I really don't care anymore. I don't let them say what they want to say. As long as God knows the truth and I know the truth, and the people who really, really, know PG, the ones that are really here for these missing kids, as long as they know the truth, girl, why do we care? Why do we care what the haters say? I'm not going to, I'm not going to fuel them people anymore. What you don't understand is when you pay attention to these people, you're fueling the devil. You're just, you're feeding the demons by, by even, bothering to talk about them. And
I just wanted to make all I wanted to do
I know,
is make it clear.
Mm-hmm. I know,
I'm gonna
Pam.
make it crystal clear.
You got my back, girlfriend, but I'm going to tell you something.
But you ain't out for the money.
And everybody
You've never been out for the money.
who loves Summer and loves Summer's channel, everyone here knows that. Everyone here knows that I don't even get enough to keep Summer's channel running. I mean, it costs me to do what we do. And
But this channel has
and
found a child.
Hey, Pam, this channel, I hate to say it, but this channel right here it has really ran, off of very,
It found a child.
very little.
Just by a background picture. And you was talking to the dad. Found a child.
Right. Well, that's what we're here for. But this channel's ran off of very little, from supporters. You know, very little. You know what I get from this channel don't even pay the StreamYard. It don't even pay the StreamYard sometimes. So, you know, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. You know, um,
If anybody's got it, hit that like button.
I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people don't even do that for this channel, Pam. You know, you think that I don't know?
I'm telling them to hit it.
Do you think that I don't know that you
It's
know
free to hit that like button.
that this is the only channel that really don't get no support out here? Do you think I don't know and realize for 4 years that nobody really even wanted to subscribe or hit the like button very often? Do you think I don't know that you know the devil has really tried to shut this channel down in every possible way that he could over the last 4 years? Of course, I know it all. I know it all, but it's still running. It's still running
Thank
by
you, Anna.
the grace of God. It's running, right? And you know to keep running until I guess God don't want it to run no more. I'll know. I will know when to quit. I will know when to quit. And when that time comes, I will. I will.
And
But
we all love PG.
now everybody don't love PG, Pam. You know,
Well,
a lot of people, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, um, when I came out here, a lot of bad seeds was planted in the minds of people, and
oh
that's what evil
yeah,
wants
you
to
got
do.
them haters.
Evil wants to plant dirty seeds in the minds of folks, you know, um, because once you plant a seed, like Candace and Don Wells, you know, Candace felt that once she tried to plant a seed in people's minds that PG wanted Donnie and all of this stuff, you know, that it would do damage. And it did, and it did. And you know, and people, you know, even if people don't believe it, you know, they still will use it. They will still use it, you know, to feel that they shouldn't support Summer's channel
Just
because
tell everybody you didn't have no red panties.
I'm going to tell you something. Don Don Wells, you know, Don Wells had no problem. You know, Candace and Don Wells said, you know, Candace said I sent pictures to Don. I sent pictures to Don. I didn't ever send one picture to Don. And how many pictures have Candace and Don Wells produced? How many pictures have they produced of PG?
None.
Absolutely none. And I'm going to tell you, how many did they produce of Cher? How many did they show of Cher that Cher sent to Donnie? Now, you know,
Well,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. You know, nobody was accusing Cher of trying to steal Donnie or anything. And everybody was supporting Cher's channel, and Cher was, you know, getting all kinds of support and everything. And her channel was doing just fine and running really great with a lot of support, right? And she was the one. She was the one. It came out later. Came out later. It was her when Candace was over on Day Day's panel. It came out, you know, that Cher was the one sending Don all these dirty pictures. That Cher was the one doing all the things that Candace was trying to accuse me of doing, and I didn't do. But I took all the blame. I took all the blame, right? And people disliked me, you know, because none of it was true. None of it was true. But people want to dislike you. People have to have somebody to dislike. They have to have somebody to hate. And, you know, nobody wanted to hate good old Cher that was, you know, been out here and out here for a long time. You know, they'd rather hate PG who just came out here and, you know, and was speaking the truth and telling the truth. And nobody was really ready or wanting to hear the truth at the time. They didn't want to hear or know the truth at the time. And, you know, it's really cost, Summer's channel, it's really cost her channel a lot. You know, her channel suffered a lot, and I've suffered a lot because of, of dirty, filthy lies that had no truth to them, and they couldn't show no proof of because it wasn't true. If I'd have sent Don any pictures, they'd have been up on Day Day's panel. They'd have been shown to every damn body. And the reason nothing was showed, because there's nothing to be shown. I don't do that kind of stuff. Like I said, I tried. I was hoping that these parents were innocent. I wanted them to be innocent. What I wanted and what was two different things. And and I learned very quickly, as I said, I learned very quickly that these two people did not care about their daughter. They did not wasn't interested in finding their daughter. They were support us, you know, or else
Remember,
or else,
remember, Grandis was going to adopt her.
well, Don and Candace was, if you support Summer, you don't support us. And if you support us, you don't support Summer. What I'm saying is, Don and Candace want people to support them, not Summer. And a lot of idiots did it. There was a lot of people who done it. And in my opinion, yes, they're idiots. You have to be something wrong with your mind to support two people, that say, hey, we want you to support us, not our daughter. Well, you're supposed to be out here because of their daughter. You're supposed to be here for the right reasons. What the hell you doing supporting two suspects that, doesn't want to talk about their daughter? They don't want to support their daughter. If you support their daughter, then you can't support them. And they hate on you, and they lie on you, and they do evil stuff to you. Why would you support that? Why would you support that? I don't know. But like I said, it didn't take me long to figure out that Don and Candace Wells wasn't handing out flyers. They wasn't for their daughter. They didn't care about their daughter. Only thing these were two people that, and
that were collecting the money.
This is my opinion. This was two people that done something very damn evil, and to this little girl. They was scared. They were scared at the beginning. They were really scared they might get caught up in it all and put in prison for it. But the money coming in from all them supporters and everything was just too damn good for them to go, to shut down and hide from. So basically, they was being really cautious, who they talked to, really cautious about, what they were saying and so forth. Donald would go and hold his lives with Cher someplace else because he was scared that drunken Candace was going to say something that would put them in prison for the rest of their lives, and then Candace, was on the edge because she thought that Cher or somebody might get something out of Donald that would put them in prison for the rest of their lives. And, grandma's always up on some kind of device, watching in and everything, trying to keep them both under control so that even herself doesn't go to prison because, she was with them that day, had all to do with what happened, in my opinion. And she was trying to, keep them both in check from getting everybody put in prison.
And one thing about it, PG, think about the swimming hole.
Right.
Why she cut that video off? She don't cut any of her videos off. And she cut that one off when Hunter got out there. It was off. No more video whatsoever.
Exactly.
Why?
Exactly. Well, see, the reason that Candace even took the video is because she, if Hunter ran his mouth later, she's got a video showing him going into the water, not her. She's got a video of him going towards her daughter, not her. What you don't understand is Candace and Don Wells are very, very. Um, I got to give them. I got to give them. You know, I got to basically give them some.
Street smart, jail smart.
I'm going to tell you. I got to give them some clout, man. These guys are really, really super intelligent when it comes to criminal activity. What I'm trying to say is Don and Candace Wells are not education. When it comes to education, they're not very intelligent at all. Don's a little more educated than Candace when it comes to, schooling. But when it comes to criminal minded activity, them two mother freakers, man, I'm going to tell you, they really know their shit. They know their stuff. And, they've learned from some of the best. They've been out there for a long, long time. They've learned from some of the best how to do evil stuff and actually, get away with it. And they're going to continue to do evilness. They're not going to stop. They're an old shoe at it. And they're not going to stop it. And that's the sad thing. Because their criminal activity goes beyond. Like there's criminals out there that do some bad stuff. I'm not, they do some bad stuff, but there's a special kind. There's a special kind of evilness out there, a special kind of criminals evilness
They like to
out
try.
there.
They
And
they
that
like
and
to
that's the level
try,
they're on.
and they know how to blame other people for
Well,
their mess.
I'm going to tell you, Pam. You got your criminals out there. You got for instance, you got your thugs out there, right? You got your thugs that's out there, you know, um, partaking in illegal substances and stuff like that. And and you have these gangs and stuff that are not too nice to one another. They get angry and stuff, and they'll go, this gang will go on live some people in the other side, and the other side will come and retaliate and so forth and so on. And you know um and that that's like criminal activity. And these people that do this, they know when to, they always know when to watch. People who get into that illegal substance stuff, man, I'm going to tell you now, they can feel it. They don't even have to see somebody rolling up. They already, it's like they can feel it. They know when to run, they know when to hide, they know when to, you know because when you're in the game like that, it don't take you long at all to figure out how to react to everything, and what you need to do and not do to keep yourself safe. And that's not Candace and Don Wells league right there. What you don't understand is that's not their league.
Poor
They're
little. The thing about it,
Don and
the
Candace.
parents ain't got enough brains. It cost him her daughter. Poor little Summer had to pay
Well,
the price for for Dawn and Candace,
you're
and
right.
that is so wrong.
And what you don't understand is Don and Candace is a special kind of evil. They're not, what I'm saying is their criminal activity is a special kind of evil activity. What I'm saying is they're criminal minded, and not only illegal substances that they use, they're also criminal minded in, they're number one. Don Wells' number one profession when it comes to the criminal activity. His number one profession is what he was doing over in Arkansas. Getting with a bunch of, essayers and finding a bunch of these, a bunch of these girls that are hooked up on, substance abuse and getting that have children. And then him and Candace or him and Pam in Arkansas, it was him and Pam befriending all of these girls and stuff, bringing them to their house, knowing that they really loved, that they love to stay all messed up and everything. And they would bring these essayers around, and the essayers would give, a little bit of stuff to the girl and take her kid away and do evil things. And Don and Pam was getting a kickback. You think they wasn't getting kickbacks from these pervs that came in there and and did stuff to these children. I mean, like in Arkansas at Pam and Don's at their residence in Arkansas, there was law enforcement pulled up and took a ton of kids out of there. One of them belonged to Lisa J. But they took all of these kids out of there because these kids had been SA'd. They've been SA'd, and that's what Don and Candace, then he got with Candace and they went over into Tennessee, and it sounds like that's what they started up again. Don was up there in Utah trying to sell his kids up for, illegal substances, according to his sister Mary.
He was, because
I
Pam
believe
told me that when I was talking to Pam Wells. She told me that Don somebody had seen him on the corner. He had his son, and he had a sign.
I don't want to hear Pam Wells' mouth either, Pam. I don't want to hear Pamela Wells acting like she's some kind of effing saint.
Oh, I'm just saying, when everybody was doing interviews.
She had her greasy old granny ass up inside of there where all of these kids were getting SA'd up, you pulling off of her property. So I don't want to hear her, because she ain't no damn better than Don Wells. And Candace ain't no better than Don Wells either. They're all the same pieces of crap and the same fucking pal. And they're evil people who prey on little children. And I'm not talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old children. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old children. Who in the hell preys on little bitty children like this? Who lays around thinking about, doing something sinister to a little child? Who the hell does that? You tell me what kind of person it takes to get turned on by a child. You got to be really sick in a mother freaking head.
Exactly.
If a freaking child can turn you on, that's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting.
And poor little Summer. And now you got Lily and Jack. Not saying Summer out of the picture, but you got how did two kids go missing? Two kids, not one, just two. Yeah. Summer was one, and one kid.
I'm going to tell you.
But they didn't care.
I'm not
they
sure.
They didn't get on the news and beg, bring my daughter home or whatever. No, they couldn't do that.
Don and Candace did not want Summer found. Matter of fact, they did not want law enforcement. The reason they all went for abduction is because they didn't want law enforcement all over their property. That's why they kept telling law enforcement, she's not around here. She's not out here. She got took in a car. Somebody abducted her. They was pushing for abduction because they did not want law enforcement all over their property, looking around and, and putting them under observation and seeing how their freaking knees were knocking, their hands were sweating, their fucking heads were ticking, and the way they were doing nothing but mother freaking lying the whole way through it, right? They were doing nothing but lying. And, they didn't want to be observed like that. It made them feel very damn uncomfortable because, in my opinion, they were guilty as fucking hell. They were guilty as hell, and they wanted law enforcement, away from them, not around them. And when law enforcement, told them, well, we have to, check every scenario, of her, we got to look to make sure she didn't wander off. We can't just go with the, what you're saying, abduction. But law enforcement should have knew that when they were pushing abduction and they're saying, we don't know what happened. She just gone. She just gone. We put her in a house. She's gone. They don't know what happened. And but they're telling law enforcement, oh, but she ain't out. She didn't wander off. But we know for a fact she didn't wander off. They needed to be arrested. They needed to be arrested because she just disappeared. You don't know what happened. And if you can tell somebody, where she isn't, then you got to know where she is. I mean, you can't tell people that she's abducted when the other avenues have not been looked into yet. And, they were pushing abduction early on. Like as soon as Granny went out there looking, saying she's standing up over the bank, hoping the boys didn't get took too. She was already pushing abduction. And this is a 5-year-old kid that actually is supposed to went into a house. It's supposed to went inside the house. And, and it disappears from inside of a house. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I'm going to tell you, they lied. And law enforcement should have caught on to their lying very quickly. The first thing law enforcement should have did is, told them that when they first pulled up, Ronnie Lawson should have went up on the hill and said, you guys got to get off the hill. John Wells, Candace, Grandis, and the boys, you guys got to go down on the road and get into police cars. We want Candace in a police car. We want Don Wells in a police car. We want Grandis in a police car. And we want the kids, the 2 boys, younger boys in a police car, and the oldest boy in his own police car. And they should have separated them up like that. And then the first thing Ronnie Lawson should have said is, I want, first thing I want is fingerprints taken on the inside and outside of that basement door. I want you to go in the house, crawl down that damn hole to the inside and take fingerprints. And I want you to go outside and take those fingerprints. And I want to know whose fingerprints are on the inside and outside of that door. Because what you don't understand is if there is no fresh fingerprints on inside or out of Summers, and there's no, smudges. There's no stranger's fingerprints, and then there's no smudges, as if someone has a glove on. Then no one went in or out of that basement door, and that right there would have killed. The whole thing about Summer coming out the basement door or somebody going in it. Right there, problem solved. No, she did not come out no basement door, and no, nobody went into it. I believe that, they dropped the ball on the whole freaking case. They dropped the ball on the whole case. I heard they did take fingerprints. I don't know how true it is, but I heard they did take the fingerprints inside and outside the door. There was no fingerprints of Summers, fresh fingerprints of any children's. The only fingerprints on those doors belong to the people inside the house. Candace, Donald, to people in the family. There was no stranger's fingerprints on it, and there was no smudges. So I think that's why Ronnie Lawson is saying, no signs of abduction. No, nobody took her out of the basement. Because they know that they're, the inside and outside of that door did not have any smudges of the, if someone has a glove on, they go up to turn a doorknob, it will smudge the last person's fingerprints on that door. And the fingerprints, none of them were smudged, and they all belong to the family. So, that shows that, and none of them were Fresh Prince of Summers going in or out. So that showed law enforcement that, what Candace was trying to say was bullshit.
Well,
And like Ronnie Lawson said, and that's probably why he said no signs of an abduction, because he knew they were bullshitting and lying to him.
like Don said, when he was beating on that refrigerator, oh, I don't know what all she did.
Well, it is what it is, right?
They know where Summer is. All three of them know.
Well, I'm not sure, but I think somebody's already squealed. I think somebody has squealed, and I truly believe that, one of the birds started singing. A bird started singing somewhere in this group, because law enforcement, the only way they take a child's picture away from the FBI's list, because Sebastian Rogers is still there, and the little girl that disappeared from the apartment complex is still there.
Layla Santos.
The only way that they take your picture away from, remove it away from that list, as if they've got a solid lead that they're about to follow, that's going to produce the child. That's the only way that it gets taken off of there. So, someone had to squeal. Someone said something. They probably spoke up to get immunity. I'd say somebody, got immunity and they're talking right now. Is it Chad Arnold? I don't know. Is it Jimmy Long? I don't know. I don't know who's squilling, but somebody's squilling. And it must be solid enough that they feel that they're going to, be able to produce Summer, and probably prosecute and get some justice. So, but you're going to have to wait, because this takes time. And that's why she ain't removed off the other sites. It's because, they still got her on the other sites, because, they just leave you on there. I mean, it takes even after you're found, a lot of times you're still on there, and have to, till somebody calls in and says, hey, why is this person on there? Then they'll take them off, so, that's just how the other two sites work. And and they also try to hold the child on the other sites, not to alert people, while they're doing.
Because there's Layla Santos is still missing. Holly Sapp is still missing. Sebastian Rogers.
Right.
Summer. All these kids are missing. Michael Vaughn. All these kids are missing. No answers.
Right.
And I don't think Dawn wanted her found. Like you said, because they would have went to jail.
It's not Fred Hill. I can tell you now. I can tell you now. The squiller is not Fred Hill. Fred Hill is not the squiller. Fred Hill has nothing to do with what's going down right now. Fred has no hand in it. He has no hand in it. I personally, I mean, I haven't actually, I ain't got to see who the squiller is, but in my opinion, if I have to say who the squiller is, well, I'd say that Marlena Crawford is the one that, that sung first. I think she was the first songbird that led them.
Remember when I asked her?
That led them to something very solid. And
Remember when I asked her about the basement?
right,
She didn't want to answer no questions about that basement.
right.
She
Well,
wanted to get off.
I
She
personally,
didn't want to stay on because she knew, well, her daughter stayed up there. You don't know where your daughter's sleeping? You brought your daughter out here. You're the one. She is the one that said she signed her daughter over. She's the one that said all this. Wasn't nobody. It came out of her mouth.
Pam, this ain't about Marlena's daughter. This is about Summer Moon Utah Wells. This is
Yeah,
about,
but what I'm saying is they
yeah, but
all stayed
I don't,
there.
I don't want to talk about somebody else's child.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want to bring, somebody else's child. That's not cool, man. That's not cool. That, as far as we know, that little girl could have been a victim too.
Well,
And
yeah.
and I don't want to talk about that. What I want to
I
stick
want Summer found.
right,
And Don and Candace, if Don and Candace can't give us information, I'm glad whoever's talking is talking.
right. I like to on this channel here, summer is the topic here. The goal is to find her, get her found, get her brought home, and to get justice for her. you know i I'm not, any other victims surrounding this particular case and what was going on up on Ben Hill Road. I do not want to talk about. I don't want to discuss it all. Because when you talk about, people like that, it's kind of like
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
it's kind of like victimizing them again, and nobody should be victimized, you know,
I
repeatedly.
apologize.
But you know, as far as Summer's case goes, I personally think the one that's really right now talking is one of two people. I think it was Marlena that laid the road, but I think that the one or two people that possibly is talking to the point where Summer has been taken off of that particular site with the feds, I would say it's either Chad Arnold or Jimmy Long. I would probably say Chad Arnold. I think Chad's saving his ass right now because he knows that, people are looking into trying to, either exhume that grave or go down beside it and in order to look underneath it. And if something's found there, well, Chad's in a lot of trouble, and so is the Morlocks, and anybody else involved in it. They're pretty much going to be in trouble. So, I think, I personally believe, the first to talk's the first to walk. So that's who I think's probably right now gave enough solid evidence. And if it was Chad or Jimmy Long, then obviously that's where they believe Summer is. That's where they believe she is, and that's where they're going to, we're we're going to hear that they went through all the channels to do what they need to do to get her out of there. They must solidly think she's there. They must have some reason to solidly think she's there, and getting ready to, and getting, like I said, they're getting ready to go down and pull her forth. If that's the case, then and this is my opinion, Don and Candace are a couple of sitting ducks. Especially Candace. Especially Candace. Don had 7 alibis, right? Thanks to Candace. Don hid at work all day. He had, his phone, Starlink. He had, his boss and other people who seen him. He has a lot of alibis where he was all day. But Candace, she was actually seen following Chad Arnold out of Ben Hill Road onto Beach Creek where Morrison Cemetery is. He also didn't come back in for quite a while. Matter of fact, when they seen her coming back in, it's about the time she went up on the hill and started, her gaslighting. About the time she started, I think they know that she took Summer somewhere and, somewhere right there in the area because she really wasn't gone. She wasn't gone long enough to go a very long distance there and back. But she was gone long enough, that something went down and they know it. So, you know, it makes perfect sense. And it's probably making perfect sense to law enforcement as well. And, and like I said, they probably got a hold of those guys. They were looking for Jimmy Long and Chad Arnold. They probably did get a hold of them. They probably did take them in for, some interrogation, maybe even lie detectors test. And they might have squealed. They might have squealed and told everything. And they're getting ready to, they have to get a permission and court orders and all kinds of stuff to, to do what it takes to get, if Summer's down in there, they have to go through a lot of stuff to get her out. They got to also get, the funding and the equipment and everything to do what needs to be done. And that takes time. So, that's possibly what we're looking at. That could be what we're looking at. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna drop down so you can talk about Lily and Jack.
Hey,
People in the chat said, let's get back to that.
hey, I appreciate you coming up, girl. God bless.
All right.
All right. Well, everybody's looking for justice. We're all looking, you know, to get justice for these missing kids. The problem is when people do evil, when people do evil, you know, it's they're going to lie, right? I mean, if you stole the cookie out of the cookie jar, you're not going to admit to it. I'm sure that you done things and your mother or your dad asked you and hey Carrie, did you do this? Or Suzanne, did you do this? Janet, did you do this? And I'm sure you said no. You said no because you thought you was going to get in trouble. You might have told your parents you were at a library when you was with a boyfriend. You know, I'm sure at some point you felt scared and you lied, to keep yourself from getting your backside tanned or whatever, you know, and and that's the way these criminals are. These criminals, they're liars. They're liars. They're scared to go to prison. And they're going to do, I mean, you don't do something as evil as destroy a child and then tell on yourself, right? I mean, if you wanted to go to prison, you could have just took the kid to the hospital or whatever, and tried to save it, somehow, right? And went on to prison anyway. Why would you go through all the trouble of, you know, uh, getting someone to destroy it and take a video like you didn't and meet up with somebody else to help you cover it up and hide it. I mean, why would you go through all of that if you were a truthful person, right? If you were a good, honest, upstanding, God-fearing, truthful person, the child wouldn't have needed to be destroyed because you wouldn't have been doing any sinister stuff to it, anything to do it to hurt it to where it would have to be destroyed, right? Um, that's, that's the way it is, and you wouldn't have let anyone else be doing anything sinister or anything to destroy it as well. I mean, I don't know. Don and Candace Wells, Don Wells came right out, and said, "Hey, I sold a video for $5,000 of my boss, you know, doing disgusting things with my daughter." And a lot of people didn't seem to care. A lot of people, they were laughing, thought it was so funny. And a lot of people didn't seem to care. There's a lot of people still supporting the Wells. There's a lot of people still, saying, "Oh, Don and I don't think Candace and Don done anything to their daughter. I don't think they done nothing." You still got these airheaded people. I mean, what does I believe that there's going to still be people. I think there's still going to be people evil enough. If Don and Candace got put in handcuffs tomorrow, or even tonight, if they got put in handcuffs right freaking now, for the disappearance and what happened to Summer Moon Utah Wells, I think there's still people that would say, "I don't think they did. I think, law enforcement's railroading them, and I think this and I think that." You're going to still have evil people wanting to support evil because, a lot of people just don't care. They really don't. They really don't care. Um, you know, Hell, they're evil too. They're evil too, right? And they probably can, they can probably relate. They could probably relate to Don and Candace. You know, they probably got a big dirty house and and pretty damn wicked to their own kids or other kids as well, and they can relate to all of that. Usually when a person, when people support evil, they're probably evil. What I'm saying is, like people who, people who say they should, all we should put, the goody good stuff, we should make it all legal. We should put it in the stores where you can just walk in and buy a pack. It should be legal. Well, the people saying that are users. They're users of that stuff, right? I mean, of course they want it in a pack and buy it over the counter because, they're partakers of it. And, it's just like, people that think that, there shouldn't be no, you know, restrictions on alcohol and stuff, there shouldn't be dry places that people should be. Well, those people, those people partake of it, right? They're partakers of alcohol. They love alcohol. They like to have alcohol. So of course, they're going to support it. And that's the way it is with people. When I see people supporting people like Don and Candace Wells, it just, you just got to understand that, they're like them. They obviously have to be like them to be supporting it, especially with them coming out and, totally admitting that they was allowing people to do horrible things to their little girl, that they were selling videotapes of this horribleness, of people doing this stuff and laughing about it. And, and saying, this is a big person. This is a highly respectable person in our community and with big monies and stuff. And, it's almost like they're telling you the reason that our daughter ain't going to ever be found is because we got videotapes of some very, highly respectable people in the community on videotape doing some really disrespectable things, right? And that's what it sounds like to me, that they were gloating and bragging, about why their evil asses was going to get away with, the little operation they was running over there on Ben Hill Road. And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. But if you can support people, who didn't look for their daughter, who didn't want the flyers, the billboards, they didn't want anything, they didn't want the reward fund when they found out they wasn't allowed to have it, when they that when they told you that you can't support their daughter and them, you got to pick one, or the other. When they come out, talking about how they let people do disgusting things to their child, and was videoing it up and laughing about it. I mean, if you could still support that, you must be like it. You must be a partaker of this kind of stuff. You must, be just like them, just as bad as them. And that makes me not want nothing to do with you, right? Because I don't need that kind of evil in my life. I don't need that. That's disgusting. I mean, if you support it, you must be a partaker of it. That's common sense. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Just saying. But anyway, you can call the feds. They're not going to really tell you anything. Like I said, it's an ongoing investigation. They're not going to really tell you nothing. They're going to tell you, that there's different reasons why this can happen. You need to go do your own research. I did my own research as to why, and it has to be the person's found. They have to have, solid lead to where the person is, and know it. And for that to happen, for this to happen, and so forth and so on. But you can call, you're welcome to call and everything. But I'm not going to get into, everything that I was told. But something's going down. Something's going down. Okay, you guys, I'm going to get on Jack and Lily. I'm going to get on Jack and Lily's case because that's what I came in here about. Little Jack and Lily, the stepdad. The stepdad is now the stepdad is saying that him and the mother was supposed to be leaving. That there was supposed to be, going somewhere together with the baby, running off somewhere with the baby. And that, it was all planned and everything was good until she went and talked with her mother. Once she went and talked with her mother, she became a different human. She became, somebody that he didn't know and ran off with her mom. What does he mean? What does he mean by a different human, right? What does he mean by this? I wish he would elaborate a little more. I wish he would elaborate a little more about, as far as she became a different human, somebody he didn't know. And where was they going? Where was they running off to, right? Where was he going to run off to? I mean, he said, some kind of old beach where, he could be the person she met at the beginning and they could start anew. And, why do you need to start anew? Why do you need to start anew? I mean, don't you start anew every day? Ain't every day a new day to start anew with somebody? Why do you got to run off somewhere to start anew? And why would you want to go back? Why would you want to go back and feel like you need to relive when you first met and start anew from there. Um, do you think that's going to wash away you think that's going to wash away some dirty, dark secret? Like it didn't happen? Let's start over with just me, you, and our baby. Since the other two kids ain't here, and something bad. It sounds like you know to me. I mean, I know this guy supposedly passed a lie detector's test. Um, you know, supposedly he did. Allegedly he did. I'm not so sure. Law enforcement can tell you that you did when you didn't, so they can follow you around, make you feel comfortable, and watch you slip up so they can arrest you. Um, so I don't know if he did or he didn't. Uh, but I I think that I think that he does have some type of knowledge to what happened to Lily and Jack. I mean, you know, kids just don't disappear. They don't just disappear like that. Somebody knows something. And he also, is trying to say that the mother, after she had the last baby, the mother, was acting different. She didn't care about the other two kids. He said Lily and Jack wouldn't have made it as far as they did if he wouldn't have been taking care of them. I thought that was a weird statement, that they wouldn't have made it as far as they did had he not been taking care of them. That she didn't do nothing for them. He was doing it all. And, she didn't even want them. It's basically, once she had the other child, she didn't even want them. It's the way he was making it sound. But he didn't elaborate. He didn't tell us if she wanted his child or not. He didn't tell us that. He just was talking about Lily and Jack. He wasn't elaborating on his child. I would like to know, did she want your child, Daniel? After she had your child, was it just Lily and Jack she was sitting on the outside? And, or was she setting all three of the kids on the outside, not really wanting to do nothing for none of them? Because, if you're suffering with that postpartum stuff after having a baby, you don't want, it's usually you don't want to be a mom at all. You don't want none of your kids, right? You ain't going to have a favorite. Oh, I don't want to pay attention to this too, but I want to pay all the attention to this one. You don't do that. Postpartum makes you not want none of your kids, right? And if you're suffering with that, you're not going to, then he would have to have been taking care of all three of the kids, not just Lily and Jack. So, I wish he would have elaborated more on that one, to be honest with you. But here you can see April the 28th, they were asking people, if you have a dash cam or any video footage, please bring it forth. And they want to know, from 12 p.m. on April the 28th to 12 p.m. on May the 2nd, to contact them. So they're wanting information all the way through. Jack and Lily came up missing on May the 2nd. May the 28th was on Monday. From my understandings, the kids went to school on Tuesday. They went to school Tuesday. Wednesday was a holiday. Thursday, they were supposed to be seen Wednesday or Thursday at some place because there was a person wanting the video footage. Law enforcement was wanting the video footage from some store where they said, where they said that there was some video footage, so if the kids went to school on Tuesday and the bus driver actually let them out on Tuesday, why would they want footage from Monday? That's not making no sense to me. It sounded to me like the kids may have not have been in school. They may have been to school Monday and not Tuesday. They may have missed school on Tuesday and Wednesday, right? And Thursday. And then was reported missing on Fridays. What is sounding to me like. So I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of suspicious right there. Why they want to go all the way back to the 28th at noon. At noon, you know, is kind of bizarre to me. You know, but this guy, has been sending all kinds of texts. He's been sending all kinds of texts talking about, you know, um, how him and his the kid's mom was going to take their baby and get out of there. How he was wanting to, as I said, he was wanting to go start over. Like they at first just met. They was going to do it until she got with her mother, and then she became a person he didn't know. There's rumor flying around that the baby's with Child Protective Services and the mother's on the run. Then there's also a rumor that she still has the baby, that she's lawyered up, that she's all lawyered up. And, so there's, we don't know. We don't know the truth. We don't know if she's got the baby or she ain't got the baby. We don't know, if she's on the run or she's lawyered up. Because we're just hearing this stuff through grapevines, right? We're hearing all of this stuff through grapevines. So we don't know the truth. It's another Summer Wells case. You don't know what to believe and what not to believe, because all of this stuff is, just being thrown out here. You got a neighbor saying, "Oh, my neighbor took a lie detector's test and the baby is with CPS, the mother's on the run." you know um it's just a scattered mess. And you got this other grandmother living out here in a trailer along with his brother, who looked real nonchalant laying back on that freaking quad thing or whatever it is he was leaning back on, resting that ass, looking like, it's just another day, right? He was looking like it's just another day. He wasn't concerned at all about these kids or their whereabouts. Then you got some weird stuff about this being native land, and supposedly they have been trying to hook up with, to become part of these native people or something, and members of some kind of native tribe or something. And they supposedly was turned down, right? They were turned down until the kids came up missing. And then all of a sudden there's rumor that they're accepted into this native people. I don't know. I mean, it all sounds weird, right? It's like what the hell's going on here? I mean, that's my thought. That's my thought. I think more people would tune in if PG was alone instead of having others up on panel. It's open panel here every night. It's open panel up here every single night. This is not PG's channel. This is Summer Moon Utah Wells channel. I've let people know that from day one. Day one. I'm gonna tell you, I don't know. I don't know why God led me to open a channel up like this. I don't know, why I got picked to, you know, to literally walk through hell, um, for 4 years. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I have no idea. But I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure there's a reason, but this ain't my channel. This is Summer's channel. And I walked through hell for 4 years for Summer. So Summer can, you know, get the truth out here. She could get the truth out here. She could, stay in the spotlight where she deserved to be, so she could get in the spotlight, because at the beginning she wasn't even in it. She wasn't in the spotlight. Everybody else was in the spotlight but Summer. And we was the ones that brought her to the spotlight. We're the ones that, have worked our asses off to put the puzzle together, to try to figure everything out, to try to help her be found, brought home, and justice served. um you know and that's what we do. But it's been a walk through hell doing it, because we've always had someone coming at us sideways constantly. But it is open panel on Summer's channel all the time. Anyone that wants to come up here and talk about Summer's case, anyone that wants to come up here and support her, or any missing child wants to come up and support any missing child, is always welcomed up here to talk and to, and to give their opinion, and help in any way they possibly can where these children are concerned. And I will always keep it that way. I will always keep it that way. Yeah, I don't even know if he took a lie detector's test or not. I mean, they're trying to say he did. Um, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm wondering. My thing is, like, when a child comes up missing, when a child comes up missing, all the people on that property should have to take a lie detector's test. Like grandma out there in the camper should have to take one. The brother should have to take one. Daniel should have to take one. The mother, every one of them should have to take a lie detector's test. It, that that's what I would want. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Nurse, exactly. Uh, the few people that knew the family say she wanted nothing to do. Actually, Daniel said it. Actually, that's what Daniel said. Daniel actually himself said that after she had the baby, she didn't want nothing to do with Lily and Jack anymore. That there was something going on, and that he had to take care. He said that he had to do everything for them kids, and they wouldn't, have gotten as far as they did had he not been doing everything and taking care of them himself. So I don't know. I don't know. Did that go for the baby as well? um you know he didn't elaborate on that. I mean, he was just, it was, he was, from what I gathered, he was talking about just Lily and Jack. And if he was just talking about Lily and Jack, then she didn't have postpartum depression. Because if you have that, then you're unstable for all of the kids, not one or two. You're unstable for all of them. And usually the baby, most of all. Usually, with postpartum depression, you don't want the baby. You know, um, you're just having, it's like, it's basically like you're not ready to be a mom. Like, you're not ready to bond with that child. Um, so if it was just Lily and Jack, then it wasn't postpartum, you know. That's why I wish Daniel would have elaborated a lot more on, the issue of what was going on. Oh, well, she's taking care. If she was all about the baby, then then I don't know why. And Daniel knew, if Daniel knew she wasn't taking care of those other two kids, and he was having to do it all, and if Daniel knew she didn't want them other two kids after having his kid, he should have reached out to the biological dad or the biological, you know, um, grandparents or something, and said, "Hey, uh, you know, my baby's mama, ain't taking care of these kids, and really, really ain't wanting them, and I'm having to do everything for them, and I was thinking that since you're the biological dad, and or the biological parents of the dad, maybe maybe you should come and pick them up and take them for a while, and maybe take care of them yourselves, until she gets back on her feet, and or whatever the hell's going on with her, until maybe she gets some help and wants them back." um they should have been, given to. And where was her mother? Her mother showed up to run her out of there, ASAP, right? Mommy was there to run her out of there ASAP after the kids are gone. Where was mommy before the kids got gone? And how come Daniel didn't tell, you know, her mother what was going on? Why didn't he confide in her mother? Hey, there's something up with your daughter. She's not wanting these kids. She's not wanting nothing to do with these kids. I don't know what's going on, but you know, she wants our baby, but these kids, ain't being taken care of. And I think somebody needs to intervene and help here. Why didn't Daniel do something? That's my question. Happened due to the mother not wanting to let baby go to his cousin's house. I think it's very possible of patient fear and the baby being taken. Um, I a possibility. That's very much a possibility. He did want to send a baby to his cousin's house, and she said no. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened to Lily and Jack. Um, I kind of thought that it was a accident cover up. I kind of thought that the kids, that they were partying out, that they probably was having a big party and a whole lot of illegal stuff around, and the kids got into it, and you know they got into it, shared it, and you know and passed away or something, and they were scared to report it because it's going to show, an autopsy is going to show why the kids are no longer with us, and they were afraid of going to prison, afraid of losing everything. So, they kind of just covered it up. That was my opinion on that case before. But now I don't know. I'm starting to really wonder why. Hey, Phoebe, is that you, hon?
So I've got an idea as well, or a theory.
Right. What do you?
Um, who knows? You know that family reserve, the native reserve. I don't know what they call it, but what if one of the family members have taken the children there, either way, alive or unalived, and they're hiding them there?
Right.
Perfect place to go. Where law enforcement just can't walk on the premises. They need special paperwork and everything. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's all bizarre. They've searched the woods. They're not there. Something's going on. Those two are in thick. The mum and dad working together. The separation, I don't know if it's real or fake. Who knows? Hello?
I'm here. I'm here.
I thought my internet's playing up. It's been cutting in and out. That's why I was going to come on panel earlier, but it was playing up too bad. So yeah, this case is crazy.
Ain't it? Ain't it though? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't say what happened because
No.
they were messing around with trying to become members of some native group. That's native land around there,
Yeah.
and if they're so
The
anything could have
children
happened, right?
and the children weren't part of that reserve at first, but
Well,
the minute that they went missing,
I heard they
um,
declined them.
they
They
were
denied
they
them.
were
Am I right? They denied. They supposed to applied many
made
times.
part of the the yeah. And
Yeah,
why isn't Meadow part of it? That's the baby, Meadow.
right. They said that from what I'm hearing, they're saying that she wouldn't let that baby out of her sight. That she was hanging on that baby with everything she had, wouldn't let it out of her sight. The other two kids come up missing. You know, could they be on that reservation? Because I heard that they got turned
That's
down.
what I think.
They applied to be part of this group and they kept getting turned down. But then they said after the two kids came up missing that this particular tribe came out and said that these kids are part of it, that they were
Yeah,
accepted. And so what is all that about?
that's right. And these texts and videos that are coming out from
And I
so-called
heard
family members, we don't know
well
if
I
it
heard
is from them.
I heard that those tribes will, like, if they hear that a native kid's up for adoption or something, I hear that those tribes will come out and do everything they can to get the child onto their into their custody, instead of letting it go to a regular American family or something. They come, they fight the court system to get a hold of the child and pull it back into them. And I heard that, I don't know, but I hear that a lot of bad stuff goes on. A lot of bad stuff goes on inside of there too. You know,
Yeah.
um, a lot of really bad stuff goes on. As far as young girls and so forth. Um,
Another thing they've got in common with the Summerwells case is another family member is deceased. I think Malaya's father, under unusual circumstances, like Rose Bly. It's all unbelievable. The whole thing.
Right. Right.
I wish I could show you what I've got now, but I can't. I can't
I
share my screen.
I don't, I don't know where this native stuff's coming in, their family. I don't know if she's native. I don't know if the biological dad's native, or that Daniel guy and his family believe they're native, or I don't know if you even have to be native to join, to put in an application to be part of their tribe or whatever. I don't know. I don't I don't join. I don't join in. Is that you, Phoebe? Did you get kicked off, girl?
I did. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Um yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand. I have no idea
No.
how that stuff works. What I'm saying is, like they have the Amish, right? They have the Amish. And the Amish, they call us Englishers and, outsiders.
Yep.
And, you know, and sometimes they'll take an outsider in. Um, not very often, but sometimes they'll take an outsider in, um, to the Amish, into the Amish and the Amish way. They don't like to. Sometimes they will. But I mean, who wants to be in there? Who wants to be isolated up, you know, and kind of ruled over, you know, who wants to who wants to be contained like that? That's what I feel it is. I feel that, groups like that contain you.
Yep.
Like Jehovah Witnesses, for instance,
Bit like a cult.
the Jehovah Witness, I feel, it's my opinion that you're contained. You're contained. Um, in that particular religion. Uh,
Follow
you
the
know,
rules or get out.
and I feel Amish. You're contained. There's
Yep.
rules and stuff you got to follow, and they get all up in your business, and I don't need that shit. I don't need that shit. I live in America because it's the land of the free, the home of the brave, and I live in America because I like being free. I like, making my own choices, of what I want to get up and I want to do every day. I like it to be my choice if I want to give my kids, Christmas presents, or let them eat candy with Christmas wrapping on it or not.
Yep.
I like to be my choice. I don't want it to be somebody else's choice for me. I want that to be my choice, you know?
I can't say I know what it's like to be American, but I can tell you that Australia is probably one of the most beautiful places in the world to live.
Oh, wow.
Kerry as
Yeah.
well.
I'm
It's
going to tell you,
very safe
America,
over here, but it's getting bad.
America is a beautiful place, because in America, the beautiful thing about America is you have an opportunity. I mean, you can be, poor if you want to be poor, and it don't take much to be poor. You just don't really have to do a lot, and you can be poor. Or you can be, you know, pretty good educated and be middle class, right? I mean, what I'm saying is you can, have a high school diploma and everything, and you can, get a little bit of something under your belt, maybe a bachelor's, or, associate's degree, and become a little bit, um, better life for yourself and your family, through better jobs. And that's up to you. It's up to you how much you want to climb the ladder. Or you could be filthy rich if you want. If you want to be rich, you can be rich. You can get, You could basically go to school and get your, bachelor's degree and your master's degree, and and even your doctorate if you want. In America, it's depending how hard you want to work uh, to achieve what you want to achieve, and everybody's got the same opportunity in America to achieve it. What I'm saying is, I'm not jealous of no doctor, because I could achieve what they achieved if I want to. If I want to put the time and the effort in, I could become a doctor too. And, I ain't jealous of people who are in high places, because I can be in those high places as well. I have the same opportunity to get the same education that they do, put in the same hours, the same years, the same everything, to have everything they have. And if I'm not putting it in, if that ain't my gold and I ain't putting that in, then I'm not going to be, you know, jealous of it. I don't think everybody should live. I don't think everyone should live, you know, on equalness. What I'm saying is, I don't think everybody should. I don't think that everybody should. Nobody should be held down from achieving, a better life. That's the great thing about America. Is you can be whatever you want to be in this country, and that's amazing. That's amazing. And a lot of countries don't offer that. Matter of fact, there's some countries that they put you in housing, and say you have 5 kids, they give you a pretty big house. And then, when you go down to only 1 or 2 kids, they move you to a smaller house. And when then when your kids, them kids grow up, then you get moved to even a smaller house. And, they're controlling, they're, they take you down till you ain't got nothing. And, it's not like you're not ever going to have, in America, you could get a home and you can pass that home down to your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids, and people could always live there, no matter if the house is big or the house is small. People, it's yours, and people can always, everybody can live in it. Nobody's going to move you. Nobody's going to move you to something, different, um, by your household size. And they're not going to say, everybody gets the same amount of everything. Why should everybody get the same amount of everything? If people are willing to work harder for more, why should they have to settle for less? You know, I don't understand that. And the great thing about America is you're free. You're free. You get to pick. You get to pick what you want to do with your life. You get to pick if you want to go to school and go to college and become something big. So you have, whatever. You could be a movie star. You could be anything you want. The only thing holding you back is yourself. If you're being held back, you're holding yourself back. America is free. And the sky's the limit. And you have freedom of speech. You have, you can, if you're not feeling well, you go to any hospital you want. They're going to pull you in there. They're going to see you. They're going to treat you. I'm going to tell you something. In these other countries and these other places, like I hear that you get sick in Canada. Well, you have to wait to see the doctor. You're going to have to wait a long time to see that doctor. Hey, PG's little girl, I'm bringing you up. You have to wait a
Okay,
long
Mama.
time to see that doctor. And, and
Hi, Mama.
it, you might not make it. You might not make it before you get in there to see that doctor. I love America, man. I love the fact that, America cares. America cares about people. And it's a beautiful place. And the one thing is about hospitals and stuff and medical care, it doesn't matter if you're poor, it doesn't matter if you're middle class, and it doesn't matter if you're rich. Our hospital doors are open to everyone 24/7, right? 24 hours a
That's
day,
right.
7 days a week. for you to get medical care, and they give it to you ASAP to save you right now. And that's what they do. When them doctors took that oath, man, they meant it. They're there to help and save all of us, not some of us. That's just the way it is.
Right.
And
If my TV's loud, yell at me, Mama.
I don't think I want to, have to make a phone call and be told, oh, well, this time next month you can come in, you can be seen, and it's something really bad, and you didn't, and you couldn't get in before that. So, you don't value life when you live in a place like that. Somebody
No.
don't value life, because them doors should be open 24/7 to
Amen.
help and heal people. And we cannot let our country become like other countries need to become like us. We don't need to become like them. Other countries is jealous of America, believe it or not. A lot of countries are jealous of America because America is free. We're
Yes.
free to
Yes,
speak
they
how
are.
we want to speak, do what we want to do, live how we want to live. You know, like I said, we got great medical care. We got, we are self-efficient in running everything. And, a lot of people love to be in our shoes. And and that's why they would like to take you over, and they want to try to take you over little by little with their bullshit, the bullshit they're operating in their country. They're trying to pawn it off on us, and we don't want it. We don't want it.
Right.
You know, I don't want it. I'm going to tell you something. For one, for one, I don't think everything. I don't think everything gives you the C word. I don't think that that paint and this and that and one thing and another. I don't think all this stuff gives you the C word. I really don't.
Right.
If that was the case, then let's go back. Let's go back in history when there was nothing. When we had all the factories and everything in our country. Let's go back when we had all the factories and all the stuff in our country. Let's go back to when everybody was, indulging in tobacco. These people were living to be 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. These people were eating bacon and eggs and fried potatoes and all, and pork chops and all kind of beans and cornbread, and I mean they were eating like all of this food, right? All this food cooked up
Right.
in all this grease and everything. And these people were healthy as they could get. I mean, they hardly ever got sick. They hardly ever got sick. And look at the
Right.
people today. Look at the people today, oh, I can't eat this and I can't eat that and I got to get away from this and I'm going to tell you something. They're always sickly. They're always at the doctors. They're always, um, hello, wake up. You know, I'm going to tell
Right.
you,
And we cook in beef fat tallow is what we cook in. That's what's in our deep fryers, and it's really healthy. It's like
I'm
all
going to tell you
natural.
something, girl. I pull out the bucket of lard. I put a big old scoop down in there, maybe two, and that's what I deep
Right.
fry. I deep fry in
Right.
oil. I deep fry in Crisco oil. The big bucket of lard. Man, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna eat, drink, and be happy because you know
Yep.
what? I'm not going to leave this world. Nobody. Every hair on your head is counted, and nobody
Yep.
leaves this world before God wants you. When you was
That's right.
born, God already knew. He already knew when He was taking you home. And
That's
you
right.
might well live while you're here and forget all the rest.
Yep. Be happy. Help
Yeah.
people.
I'm going to tell you what, people trying to be healthy and they're more unhealthy than if they just leave it alone, eat what
Yep.
you want to eat, do what you want to do, and you'd be a hell of a lot. I'm going to tell you what makes people healthy. Happiness. If
Happiness. Yep.
you're happy, you're healthy. because the number one thing that takes people out of this world isn't obesity. It isn't,
No,
it isn't all these things people think it is. I'm going to tell you what takes you out of here is stress. It's stress. And if
stress.
you're always sitting around worrying about your health and you're worrying about all this craziness, then you probably ain't going to last long anyway.
That's right.
Probably a few
God
here,
says take it one day at a time, is what He tells us.
hey, I'm going to tell you when the Lord calls, He's going to call. It ain't nothing you can do about it.
Nope. Well, that's what I was telling Raymond. Man, I bought this vape. It's a just supposed to be a nicotine vape, and I've
Right?
smoked probably about 3 or 4 of them. And I'm like, man, I gotta start smoking my cigarettes. I started having chest pains and everything else from them vapes, and it's just a regular nicotine vape with flavoring, and it's scary.
I'm going to tell you something. They said those things have caused people to go out of this world. Um,
Yep, they say you'll give you cotton lungs,
they
everything else.
said that, you can get metal in your lungs. You can on the vape is like what happens
I
is it's
told
like,
Raymond I'm done with it.
you know, from in my opinion, it's like dry drowning because basically you're sucking all of this moisture into your lungs,
Yes,
which ends up causing spores and infection and stuff. And then, you set up like, infection and pneumonia, and you go to
right.
they can't help you. You shut down and you're gone.
Yep,
Why are you vaping? You tell me one person, that smoked, that actually went to the store, got a pack of smokes back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way to now. How many people
right.
walked and said, "Hey, give me a pack of those," and it was their first pack or second pack, and they fell over. Nobody.
You
But
don't. You don't
I
hear of it.
know people
Nope.
that went and got a few of those vapes, and they're not with us no more.
Right. And that's what I was telling him. It's weird because there's times I can't get out and smoke, so I could sneak in the hallway, take a puff, and man, it was killing my lungs like I was having panic attacks. I told Ray, I'm like, I am
Right?
done with these vapes.
Whoa.
Something's not
I
right about them.
haven't ever tried one. Early on, early
Don't
on
do
I
it.
heard about early on I heard about a high school boy that had, passed away from them. And I said,
Yep.
"Whoa." I ain't ever touched them in my life. I don't let my kids touch them in their life, you know. No. No.
Right.
You
Never
know,
again. I said, I'm definitely done.
like I told my kids, I don't condone smoking. It's a very bad habit. I don't condone it.
Right.
But if you're going to do something, make sure it's regular cigarettes.
Right.
If you're going to smoke, make sure it's the regular type. Do not ever
Right.
vape. Period. That's dangerous.
No. Yes, please, nobody do it. It's serious. I don't know if these other
You
people
know.
do it on here or not, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I know people who, to be honest with you, most people that smoke hardly, to be honest, hardly none go out of this world with the C word. They usually all go
Right.
out of it with, they usually go out with, heart attacks, to be honest.
Right.
That's
Right.
what takes them out of here. It ain't the C word. So,
No.
um, I don't know why people worry so much about it. It's insane because, what cracks me up is people be like, "Oh, I can't stand, the smell of cigarette smoke." But then they'll light a fatty up, right? Some
Yes.
stuff that
Right.
smells like somebody's feet and be puffing all up on it. And it's like, really?
Right.
What is wrong with your nostrils, man? Because that crap right there smells way worse, you know,
Yep.
than than anything else. And and the truth is, one of those. You just make one fatty, and it's like, and hit on that. and it's actually like a whole carton of cigarettes. It's been scientifically proved that
Right.
to your lungs. It's like smoking a whole carton. And
Right.
you think,
And now
and you
not
want to
changing the
complain,
subject.
you know, you want to complain
Right.
about, I'm going to tell you, people's got people brainwashed. They got this whole world
Yes.
brainwashed, man. You get one person that invests, some rich person. What happens is,
Right.
these super rich people, what happens is they'll invest in, like, Philip Morris or whatever, right? They'll invest.
Right.
And then they'll do what they did, talk about how bad it is. And what happens is they get the smokes up to $10 a pack now, right? With all this taxes and
Yep.
everything, they get a big price, and they get super, super rich. Because see, they couldn't get rich when
Right.
they were 60 cents a pack. They couldn't get rich when it was 60 cents a pack. A
Right.
dollar, $1.50, $2. They can't get rich. But man, when you're paying 10, 12, $15 a pack, they're making bank. Just saying. And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you
Oh, and
something.
not change. Right. Not changing the subject. Did Jack? Did the stepdad say which day he worked on one day?
What did what?
The stepdad of Jack and Lily. Did he say which day he worked? I know he only worked.
What day Daniel was at work? I
Yeah.
heard I heard he only worked one day that week. One day. I don't know what day,
Right.
but he was only supposed to work one day that week. That's what I heard.
That's weird. Why only one day? That is very weird.
Um, a
That don't make
fatty won't
sense.
make won't. I beg the difference. A fatty could if someone decided to lace it up with the wrong stuff. It
Yep.
actually could. I mean, if somebody decided to spray it up with something, it's a quick way.
Yep.
It's a quick way to get even with your enemies. That's why. That's why. You know. What are you going to do? Go to the law and tell them that you bought a fatty, an illegal
Right.
substance? You're going to go to the law and tell them you bought an illegal substance, and it did
Answer
all
them
of
or
this to
no.
you? No. And the law ain't
Mm-mm.
going to care anyway. You wasn't supposed to be doing that. You
Right.
got, I'm going to tell you, I don't trust people. I don't trust evil people. What I'm saying is,
No.
you know, when you're doing fatties, you're at the mercy. You're at the mercy of, a dealer. You're at the mercy of a
Yep.
of a dealer who is, and this dealer, you think this dealer is a good person? They're not. They wouldn't be a dealer if they're a good person. Dealers have to do some
Right.
really evil stuff, to keep people
They
from
like to
from
lace
messing
and
them
do
over,
everything to
coming in
people.
on them, right? And um, and you don't know what they might put into your stuff. You don't, you're at the mercy of someone else. Do to you whatever they want to do to you. I mean, if they get fed up
Right.
with you coming around, they get fed up with you coming around all the time, or you go in and you say, and they find you to be sarcastic, or they just don't like your face anymore, or maybe one of your enemies come in and and give them a tip, give them a big tip. Well, you know, you're done. You're done, man.
Darn
I don't
tootin'.
I don't mess with that stuff.
Nope.
I've been there. I've been there. I know what these people do. You know, I don't need a fatty to be happy. I don't need a fatty to, I don't I'm gonna tell you something.
Make your brownies and stay happy.
Hey girl, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm happy. I'm happy with the Holy Spirit. I'm happy just,
Right.
I'm happy with getting up every day. and knowing that God loves me, that I love God, that I got a hell to shun, a heaven to gain, and I don't need anything else.
Right.
I don't need anything to impair my judgment. Nothing to impair
Nope.
my judgment, and I ain't going to be using stuff to impair my judgment because I
Mm-mm.
gotta stay focused. I gotta stay focused on that white road, man, and getting to where, getting to a place where I'm gonna be living forever. I ain't got time to be sitting around, you know, I'm messing with fatties and sniggering in corners and looking stupid
Right.
because that's what people look like when they're all all hayed up like that. They just look stupid,
Yep.
and they always got this grin on their face. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't like that demon. I don't like that
No.
demon.
That we seen a person on the way home by the gas station. It looked like they was just so methed out of their head. They was on something, but like I said, it was probably
Hmm.
meth. And
And I'm
man,
gonna
sitting
tell
there
you,
twitching, jerking everywhere. And I'm like, dude, you don't even look cool. Like seriously, go get some help.
you buy him at the. I'm afraid not. Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
afraid. I think the kids got into. I think the kids got into something and shared.
You got to remember. You got to remember. I'm gonna tell you, if I was into fatties, I would live in a I would live I would literally live in a place where it's not illegal to grow your own,
Right.
homegrown, because then I know what's in it.
What's in it?
Right? That's
Yep.
right. But I don't do that stuff. I don't go to no liquor stores. I don't need that shit either. I don't need that.
Mm-mm. Nope. I was gonna say you're occupied all the time with the kids and work
Hey girl,
and
I'm gonna tell you, I
getting
wish
all
I
the
would
fats
never.
and everything this summer. And
Right? I wish I wouldn't have picked up the habit. The habit of just smoking. I wish I would never pick that habit up. It's a bad habit. It's a costly habit. And
mm-hmm.
if I could, zoom back in time, I wouldn't have thought it was so cool, right? I wouldn't have thought it was so fly to walk around, and with your little girlfriends, with your little girlfriends, sneaking that pack, out of your parents' carton or whatever. I wouldn't have
I
done
used
it.
to do it.
But
I used to steal the cigarettes.
yeah, and I got hooked up on it, and it's like wow, and it's the only thing it's the only thing that keeps my sanity now. You know,
Right.
I I mean, I'm as human as anybody else. Even I get
Right.
worked up and upset sometimes, and I have to step outside and light one up, or
Right.
come down here to my office, and you
Go
know
hide in the basement.
yeah, I come down here to my office and light one up, and I mean that's like my man cave, right?
Right.
It's my man
That's
cave,
mama
man.
cave.
Yeah,
Mama
right.
cave. Stay out.
I'm like, but I would only imagine. I couldn't imagine having any other habits. I'm going to tell you, when you have bad habits like that, like the goody good, and the liquor and stuff. I mean,
Right.
most people with those habits, they ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. You're not ever going to
No, they
have
do
any.
not.
You're making somebody else rich. You're making somebody else rich. The person supplying you is the one you're making rich. They're the ones with the big house. They're the ones with the nice car, the nice furniture, the nice clothes, the good food. They're the ones on vacations living it up while you are living in poverty, while you're living in hell to support your habit. And that shit ain't for me. That ain't for me, man. I'm not making somebody else rich. I
No.
want the nice shit. I want to live the good life, and I can do that if I stay the hell away from the rest of that stuff. If
Right.
I allocate my money, I allocate my money where I can see it. I don't allocate my money
Yes.
where I can't see it. You know, alcohol,
Right.
alcohol, I mean, all you basically drink it up, let it out, right? More ways than
Right.
one, more ways than one. Here it comes, and and you feel like crap, and you think that was a good time.
And
Hell
it
no.
wasn't.
Hell no. And what you
Mm-mm.
gonna do? What you gonna do when you too damn old? What are you gonna do when you freaking too old to get to the places to get that stuff? What are you gonna
Right.
do
Look
when
at
you
Dawn and Candace.
right? What are you gonna do when you're free? What are you gonna do? Sit in a rock when you're old. You're gonna sit in a rocking chair and oh
Drink your liquor.
yeah, right. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
don't know how these people do it.
I don't think grandma's supposed to be. I don't think grandma's supposed to have goody goody. And grandma should
Right.
have had supposed to have a liquor bottle and a pouch of a freaking baggie of stuff.
Right.
That's
I like
disgusting.
spending my money on my hair and buying stuff for my house and
Right.
help paying the bills.
Man, I tell you what, if I if I don't need to buy anything else, I just let my money pile up in the bank. Right?
That
I just let my money.
pile it up. Yep.
I'm like, shoot,
Yep. Get into the stocks and get 401ks and everything. Best thing in the world. Some people's like,
exactly.
why do you want to get into the stocks and
I'm
this
gonna
and that?
tell you
Well,
something. The day's gonna come. The day's gonna come. I know. I'm educated enough to know the day's gonna come that I gotta retire. I gotta retire. Matter of fact, they will force you out of retirement. You know,
yes.
after a certain age, they want to force you out of retirement. Into it. And once they force you into retirement, I don't want to be that person that's bagging groceries at some grocery
Mm-mm.
store, 80, 90 years old, trying to bag up some groceries and push carts, out on a parking lot because my retirement isn't enough to sustain, you know, my living. Um,
Right.
and you see all these people doing it. You see
Yep.
all these old people working at these grocery stores, and they are retired. They're retired from they got pushed out because they got too old at their regular jobs, and they're retired, but they don't get enough to sustain their living costs. So
Right.
their work still working, you know, and that's and if they only put so much of their paycheck back, each paycheck, if they'd only just put so much of it back on top of, what they'll get in their retirement, they could have stayed,
Right.
put their feet up and enjoyed life. They could have enjoyed, their home for once. They could have enjoyed living in their house. They could have enjoyed cooking in their kitchen that they didn't hardly see when they was working. They can enjoy their kids and their grandkids, in the future. They can enjoy those vacations and stuff that they didn't have time to take, all those years because they was busy working and raising the family and doing so many other things. You know, you can have a comfortable life, later when you really need it, when you really need it.
Yep.
Um, and when you don't feel like getting up and taking that ass out in the snow to go to work, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to be. I don't want to be 80 years old sliding across the mother freaking a store parking lot with a bunch of skating across the store parking lot on some fucking ice with a bunch of carts, right?
Right?
That shit, girl, that shit ain't for me.
No.
Just saying.
I can see you pushing a damn cart across there.
And so slide mode,
Damn cart.
slide. I'd be slide mode, 80-year-old ass across the parking lot to get them, sliding it back.
Here comes Mama.
Right. I put on some ice skates in the winter, some roller skates in the summer.
I can see little Bubba chasing you with the nail gun. Come back, come back.
Right. That'd be some funny stuff, wouldn't it? But I'm going to tell you, it's really, really, all honesty, it's sad. It's sad to see, it really, it really is. It's sad to see, those older people,
It
out there
is.
up carts and bagging people's groceries, and I'm like, wow, shit, they remind me of my parents and grandparents, right?
Right.
I'm
We
like,
have
you
an
should,
old school teacher
right?
that, done
Somebody should
delivery.
be helping. Somebody should be helping you get a cart, right? Not
Yes. Not us pushing it.
not you pushing it all of it into the store. It's like, whoa. I'm like,
That
wow.
we have a lady that does
And I
she
tell
was
you
a
another.
school teacher. Go ahead, sorry.
Go ahead, girl.
Okay, we had a teacher that retired, blah blah blah, and then she came and started doing deliveries, and she's like 70 some, and I'm like, I don't think you better be doing that, and it's weird because she got really sick and ended up with cancer, blah blah blah, and she's
Hmm.
trying to come back to work being like that, and I'm like, no, you're retired for a reason, stay away, just stay far away.
Right.
I felt so bad for her. Like people didn't even show her no sympathy or anything, bald headed, and she's still trying to
Oh
bag
wow.
stuff and got rude people. And I'm like, nah, nah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't like it when people get rude with people that's been sick or even if we're down on their luck. I don't like that.
I'm gonna
Just
tell
don't do
you,
it to people.
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how wicked this world is today. These,
It's very
these people learn. I'm gonna tell you, the last few generations, and even my own, you know, um, as I was growing up, you'd be surprised. I hung around with some really, really bad people, and
right,
these really bad people, I promise you, they had no respect. They had no respect for their elders. They had no respect for their own groups. They had no damn respect for nobody, not even kids. The kids, they say, "Get out of here, you little, you know what." Uh,
mm,
you little, and they say bad stuff to kids. You think you're a
right,
little, you think you're a little bad A, and they be really mean,
mm,
and
right,
and and so forth and so on, and the elderly people, they be like, what is that old bee looking at, and you know and
right,
I'd be like, hey man, that's somebody's grandma, why are you talking like that, and they'd
right.
be like, I don't give and this is the conversations, and I'm not talking about, one person, two people, three people. I'm talking, I hung in groups, crowds, and like a lot of them, uh,
Right.
really no respect for nobody. I mean, they talk about, um, you don't even want to know how bad this
Right.
world has gotten. It's
Living
it's
in
just
the
it's
and living in the
insane.
hood and growing up, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you might make it home, you might not. I mean,
Right.
you didn't know. I mean, when I went, when my group went clubbing, when it was time for us to be old enough to, you know, get in the club and stuff, um, it wasn't no longer, it wasn't no longer, your grandparents or your mommy and daddy's generation where, they just slapped each other around or whatever, that
Right.
little smacky smacky, I don't like you, I don't like you, throwing hands thing. Now I'm gonna tell you now, that wasn't no. You come out of that club, man, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it wasn't nothing like that. It was it was somebody's gonna need a stretcher
Right.
because
Beat down and just going.
it was, they didn't care how bad it was. What I'm saying is you come out, next thing you hear is pap pap and people going down,
Right.
and
Right.
you're getting the safety wherever you can. You're trying to wait, who is it? What are they doing? And and if you happen to be in the mix of all of this, you know, you try to stay as low as you can, make it to, your vehicle you know, and get out of there as quick as possible because you know that, um, if you make it out lucky
You're
enough to,
lucky.
get through it, then what you got to worry about is, law enforcement showing up and then everybody's going to be, you know, being asked for what you seen. Let me see your ID. Are you driving? You're going to get all questioned up. It's not good. It's not good.
No.
So you got to
That's
get,
what,
you got to get out of there. And, but, my generation, they didn't play with you no more.
no.
They wasn't
That's what I tell
looking.
everybody that I work
They
with.
wasn't
I'm like,
looking. They
go
weren't
ahead.
looking
Yes,
to
sir.
hurt you. They was looking to take you out completely. And
Right.
trust me, I seen a lot of people, go out of this world in so many different ways. So many different
Right.
ways. But
That's what it's scary because, you know, my husband, he's friends with the pagans, the Hell's Angels, all of them. And I said, man, it's scary because these people don't realize how bad they can get. And,
I'm gonna tell you
even at
something, girl.
home,
There ain't enough
very, very.
hours. There ain't enough hours in Memorial Day. I mean,
No.
if I got up at if I got up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and put everything, all the flowers and everything in my vehicle and started to go around, started
Right.
going around putting flowers on all, the people I knew back then that ain't no longer with us, got took out
Right.
very young. Um, I probably wouldn't get home. I probably might not get home till the next day.
Next day. Yep. Yep.
I mean, that's how many. If I was going from cemetery to cemetery, just trying to visit up and, hey, here flowers for you, miss you, man. Um, yeah, it would
It's
probably,
scary.
I would probably be into the next day.
Right.
You know, that's how many people. That's how many people I knew that is not here now.
Right.
And, it was sad. Like, I promise you, sometimes in 1 month, you would be able to attend anywhere from three to
Right.
four. 3 to 4 people went down that
Mm.
you associated with.
Right.
You know, and in all different ways. That if it wasn't the substances that took them out, it was accident because they were too messed up to be driving or whatever. If it wasn't the accident that took them out, then it was somebody that disliked them, you took them down. It's just that's the way it was all the time. And
So it happened back then, yes.
right, and I'm like, it's still happening. It's
Yep.
it's still going on out there, and this is an evil world,
This
an
world's
evil
worse.
world.
Yes.
It's just gotten a little dirtier. You know,
Yeah.
um, too many people, too many people were actually getting arrested and everything for taking people out and stuff. And so it's gotten dirtier. They, now they fight in a different way. Like I
Yes.
said.
Dirty.
Well, when you're in a
Drugs.
cesspool like that, everybody's the same.
Right.
You're all mixed up in the same stuff. And,
Right.
and these people they know what you do. I mean, like they know if you like the goody good, they know if you like this or if you like that. And they know how easy it is to,
To slip and do it.
to get something through to, if you
Right.
make it, you ain't going to be normal no more. Um, and that's cool with them.
And,
Uh,
and what's
hopefully
wrong with these people anymore? Why can't
they
you?
don't, it's
I keep
gotten,
interrupting you.
it's gotten more wickeder. They've gotten sneakier
Yes.
with how they take people out now. And,
Right.
and that's the real dangerous thing. That's the real dangerous thing. That's why you can't trust no one around you. You know,
No.
you can't have, you got to keep your eyes open all the time, and you've got to,
That's right.
keep yourself safe.
Head on a swivel and
And
always
you
watch.
got to be, you got to be ready to do whatever you have to do, in this world.
Yep.
I mean, you got to stay ready. You can't
Yep.
play no
And
more.
here's what I don't
There ain't no
understand.
time.
Why doesn't people, right? And if you're at work or a grocery store, gas station, wherever, I don't care if I'm having a bad day. It don't hurt to smile, hold a door open, say hello, even if you don't know them. It doesn't hurt nobody. It don't cost nothing but kindness.
That's right, girl. You should be every day. You should be trying to make somebody else's day better. You know,
Yes, I don't care
you
if I'm having
you
a shittiest day. Yes.
you know you should treat everyone. You should treat everyone good. In this life, you should treat everyone good. You know, love it. It's kind of love everybody. Don't trust nobody. Um,
Right.
it's what we're living in. I mean, as much as you want to trust somebody, you better think twice about it.
Yep.
You know, and it's just it is what it is. You know,
Yep.
did you know this as we're on the subject, there was a girl. I don't know if you guys have seen her or not, but anyway, she said that she had something happened. She had passed away, and I guess she went to heaven like some people do, and I believe some people
Right.
do.
Right.
Especially like the little girl that painted the picture of Jesus.
Right.
Um, I believe she went to heaven.
Right.
I always knew that Jesus didn't look like that picture, the picture people, the long hair. I always knew he didn't look like that. Um,
Right.
and when she painted that picture, I knew she got it right. I always knew Jesus had green eyes. I don't know how,
Yep.
but I always knew he did,
I
and
believe he
dark hair.
does.
And dark hair. And
Yep.
I always knew he was handsome. He was a very good looking man. Um, and when she painted that picture, I said, wow, that's him. That's him. I believe I really believe, I ain't going to get into detail, but I really believe that, I saw Jesus a couple of times in my life.
Right.
And, and when I saw that picture, I said, wow, that's him. Somehow I knew,
Oh. Right.
so,
You do.
the thing is this particular girl said that, this happened to her and she went up there. And she said that Jesus, when she was up there, Jesus told her that the end of time, we don't know the day or the hour, But Jesus said at the end of
It's,
time, we'll be here by 2030.
right. It's coming.
So, and I believe her. I believe her
Get your
because
house in order.
absolutely, girl, absolutely, get your house in order. That's the thing. You know, you have so many people out here in this world today. All of these Abby normals, right? And
Right.
and it's a shame. It's a shame that you have all of these Abby normals, which are haters and evil people and awful awful folks that do awful things. And
Right.
people wouldn't do it, but these ones will. And you know it's like I could name a few Abby normals, like Candace. Like
Yes.
Candace, her name should be
Candace,
Abby.
Dawn, Brandis.
Brandis as well.
Yep.
And like something to say, Abby normal. There's a lot of Abby normals out there. You ask yourself, why are you so evil? Why are you so ugly? Why are you so mean?
Not
Why
her
are you so
metabolism now. She doesn't laugh.
right?
It's not her
It must be their
metabolism.
metabolism, right? Right. I don't know,
I'm like,
girl.
damn.
Right. I don't know. But all I got to say is, get your house in order, pick it up,
Yes.
get it cleaned, and and not just the home you live in. Don't just clean it up, but
No.
clean the house that you house every day, which is this body of yours. you know clean up your mind, body, and soul. You gotta push the bad away from you, and let the good in, and live a good life. I mean, I tell you what, I know I had a dream. I had this dream that I was going up. The rapture had came, and I was going up, and I looked down the earth, and I seen this particular person I knew. And man, I'm going
Right.
to tell you something. It was horrible. It's horrible to see someone
No.
left behind, especially someone you love. And I was like, wow, you know, um, this ain't good.
Right.
This
No.
this this
And
is
we're all
good.
not promised going to heaven. We're all not promised to go to heaven.
I'm going to tell you, I went up a little bit higher, and the sorrow and everything I had, for this person, because I was really
Uh-huh.
feeling bad for him. And I went up a little bit more, and it started to go away. And I went up a little bit higher, and it's like when the Bible says that God will dry all of your tears and cares away. He's going to dry up your tears and make the care go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. That's what happened. As I
Right.
went higher, I didn't care. I didn't
Right.
matter. Um, you know, like this peace came over me. But I won't ever forget,
Right.
seeing how I felt when I saw this particular person walking that didn't make it. And I couldn't understand why.
Someone said, PG, do you know? I think she put,
What
yeah,
area
what
of the
area
fence
of the fence
went
Jack and Lou or something?
out of the yard, front or back?
Yeah.
And they're trying to say that Jack and Lily went out the back door. Hold on, here's some pictures. Um, they're trying to say, there it is. Um, they're trying to say that Jack and Lily went out the back door of this particular camper. I've got right there.
Hmm.
They're trying to say that they came out this sliding door right here. Now, at one
You would
point,
hear
Daniel,
that.
no, listen to this. At one point, Daniel said that the kids went out this kitchen door right there. You see the little one?
Yeah.
And at first, him and his old lady was saying sliding doors. But then at one point, they said they heard this kitchen door slam. And,
Hmm.
so So that's what makes me feel that they're lying because they changed up their story. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Right.
that they, that's what, had me thinking that, something ain't right here because Daniel changed up that story. Actually, he changed up different areas of this story on different occasions. You know,
Yeah, I
it
thought like
was,
4 times he changed it.
he changed the doors. I know that he
Hmm.
changed, from the sliding to the kitchen door right here slamming. Um, he he also changed up, hearing them. Um, when they was playing and everything. They said that they heard first. They said that they heard them inside and outside. Then they said that they only heard them inside, and then and then found out they were outside later. Um, you know, the story they can't keep it straight. There's
Right.
only
And what
one
about the
truth.
mom and them in the camper? Where was these people at from the camper?
I
We
heard
don't hear
grandma.
nothing.
Grandma is saying the same thing that Grandis said. I was taking a nap. And do you remember Grandis? Do you remember Grandis telling that the creator that she was taking the nap and Candace left with Summer, which would have been around 4:30,
Yes.
supposedly taking Summer to Donald. Well, did you
Right.
know that is the time she was down at Fred's meeting up with that is the same time that she would have the time that Grandis was saying she took a nap is the exact same time that Candace would have been putting Dawn's phone on the back of the truck, talking with Marlena, then putting the phone on the back of Dawn's truck, and then going off the hill to go meet up with Chad Arnold. Did you know that?
Chad. Yeah.
So
I remember you saying that.
even Grandis puts Candace off the hill at the time that Chad Arnold was down there meeting up with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very weird.
I think there's a really good chance that Summer's over there in that Morrison cemetery.
She's there. If
And
she's not,
I
then
truly
something's
believe
wrong.
I really think law enforcement is going to be pursuing that one.
I'll be blessed when it happens.
Um, no, all they know is all that law enforcement knows about Lily and Jack's case is that the scent ended at the end of the driveway. The dogs
Same
didn't
as
get
the Wells.
anything past the end of the driveway. And ain't it funny that the dogs didn't get anything past the end of Don and Candace's driveway as well, where the pavement
Very
met?
weird. Right.
Yeah,
So they've been picked up and put in a vehicle.
it's almost like these two cases are so similar. They're so similar.
Yeah.
Really weird. I'm going to tell you, the mother must have something to hide if she's on the run or lawyered up, ain't talking. There's got to be something there. Something there. But
They are. And wait 10 minutes later to call the cops. Come on.
yeah, right, right. We'll keep covering the case. That's for sure.
Yeah. I am sorry if I interrupted you all tonight.
And has anybody seen this picture? This is a picture. This picture here, supposedly is the mother's boyfriend at the age of 16. I don't know if this is the biological dad of Lily and Jack, but it is her boyfriend when she was 16 years old. This guy is her boyfriend when she was
Mm,
16. And I don't know if it's the biological dad or not. I do know
right.
that, this was her boyfriend at 16 years old. So I don't know.
Doesn't make sense.
right?
You all share the love and the support. Help support Summer's channel. Help with Lily and Jax. Support Mama PG. Much appreciated, please, and thank you. Hit that like button too.
Anyway, I believe Daniel deliberately got, um, I can't even say that girl's name, Malaya, pregnant to get access to native land by having a child with native blood. Oh, so the native blood comes from him, or does it come from her? I'm trying to figure out where this native blood's coming in at. You know, the
That's
native.
me. Yeah.
I'll do more research on that. I'll do more research on that to try to find out where you know the native blood is coming in at, or if you even have to have it. Um, I'll try to figure more out about that.
Right. Now, doesn't Chris's ex-wife, Nina or Nick, whatever her name was, didn't she live on a native thing?
Oh, okay. Australia said it comes from him. No, the biological father. The biological father. Okay.
Okay.
So the native blood came from her first old man. So Jack and Lily had native blood from their dad.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So that's why she's allowed on the reservation then.
Right.
All right, well, I'm gonna hop down. Prayers to you, Mama. Prayers to everybody in the chat. Always
Hey girl,
please
I
try to
appreciate
help
you
support.
hanging out with me. Yeah, I'm getting out of here
Oh,
too.
I
I'm going
love
to
it, Mama.
you out.
All right, I love it. Prayers to everybody in the chat. Prayers to you, Mama PG and family. You all stay safe and keep it real.
Hey girl, God bless and much love.
Love you, Mama.
Love you too. You know it. All right, you guys. PG's heading out of here too. I got to get to bed. I got work tomorrow morning along with everybody else, right? We got to get up another day, another dollar. All right. Don't quit your daytime job. That's what I got to say. But yeah, PG's going to get out of here, but not before I ask you to please, please, please pray for these missing children. Pray for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. I don't know what's going on, you guys. I got a feeling that they've got something. Let's pray that they do. Let's pray that that somebody squealed up here recently, and they got a really good ideal, a solid ideal where Summer's at. They're going to they're going to bring her forth, and we're going to get some justice. So let us pray that that's the case in the name of Jesus. Amen. Let's pray that that is the case, and it very well could be. It very well could be, you guys. That's exactly what I'm praying for. I sure hope it is. But let's keep that little baby in our prayers, and let God know to how much we love her and how much we just want her to be found. We just want Summer to be found, put to rest properly, and so we know where she's at. Know that she's in the arms of God. For sure, she's in the hands and God and the arms of Jesus, and we just want closure. We want closure for our brothers. We want closure for all of us, and we want closure for Summer. We want Summer's story told, right? I'm sure she wants her story told, and we want her story told too. We want her brought home, and we want to know where she's at. We want to know where she's at. We need to know where she's at. So let us continue to pray and let God know our needs. And it ain't a want. We really need to know so that we can rest and her brothers can rest in peace as well. And keep the prayers going up for little Lily and Jack. We need to know where they're at too. And Michael Vaughn and Sebastian Rogers. We need to know where all of these little children are. We really need God to help us find them, bring them forth so that we can, so we can get some peace and rest in all of this. And the evil people that did this, well, You know, we can get justice. We can get justice against these evil beings that can do such evil things to children. No one should get away with that, which they're not going to get away. Whether they be judged here or they be judged later, they're still going to be judged. Nobody gets away with any wickedness. No one. You might think you do, but you don't. So, you know, we serve a mighty powerful God. He knows what he's doing, and he's the one that serves justice, not us. So, you know, let us pray. Let us pray that at least he just lets us find these kids. Let us bring them home. Let us know where they're at so we can get closure. Amen. Pray for one another. So many people in here needing prayer. And if you don't need prayer, let us pray that we keep on doing good, right? Let us pray that everything keeps on being good, you know. But there's a lot of people that everything ain't being good for. So let us pray, you know, for them as well. That you know, whatever's going on in their life, God turns it around, right? God turns it around, which he will. He will if you believe. All right, you guys. I'm gonna say good night. Much love and God bless.